The lead singer of the Party Hounds and BYU assistant basketball head coach Tim LaComb with us in Studio B. Tim, welcome back, man.
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be here on I almost said Thanksgiving. Halloween is actually a perfect. I have a face for radio, so I'm kind of spooky, just in the way I look. So it's cool that I'm here today.
And you're a huge fan of Halloween.
Big fan of Halloween. I was just telling you guys in the break. There's a great, like, if you can look it up. There's a great rant by Jim Rome about Halloween and adults dressing up. So. It was actually pretty funny, but I'm not a big. I like it for the kids. I stay home and hand out candy and all that kind of thing, but I'm not much of a dress up guy.
If you want to see adults dressed up, you can come tonight for the Halloween Spectacular in the stadium.
You guys look good.
Yeah.
Two phases of Jimmer's career.
Yes.
Good. I like it.
Yeah.
73 points scored in a game, Jimmer.
And 73 seconds in a game.
Wow.
Unfortunately, we like that version better.
Yeah, it's good. He had 38 the other night.
Yes, he did.
Rolling.
Yes, he is rolling. And you guys are rolling as well. But first, we want to ask you, some news came out last week about Nick Emery and an NCAA investigation into a booster relationship. What can you tell us about that situation?
You know, there's not much more I can say. Obviously, the university is aware of it. They're working with the NCAA. It's something that we're just kind of waiting to see right now. And obviously love and support Nick as the best we can. And we're just kind of waiting like everybody else.
You know, and at this point, as a coach and a staff, you just kind of got to prepare for, you know, the best, the worst, and have B plans in place. How do you feel about the depth of the basketball team right now?
Really excited about the depth of the team. You know, it was really unique opportunity this last week. We were able to go down to New Mexico and play in the pit. The NCAA was an awesome thing I think they've done is to make it available to teams to play, two Division I teams to play an exhibition game. And we were able to take our team, young, you know, kind of team, inexperienced in a lot of ways, on the road to a place like the pit and go through, you know, a simulated road trip. We flew down there and were able to practice in there and then go in and play. And I think one of the things that came from it is what you talked about. I think we got contributions from a lot of different guys. It's hard to simulate adversity on the road, a crowd cheering against you, and our guys handled it really well, and we were able to win the game. So it was a great experience, and we feel like every single day we just continue to talk about making the right play, you know, playing as hard as you can play, and being together. And I think that's the one thing our guys are really buying into.
What surprised you, if anything, about the way the guys played in the game? Because you have plans and you have ideas, and then you actually have games.
Right. Well, I think this was unique because the one thing we didn't have going into the game is much of an idea of what New Mexico was all about. It's a brand new coach, pretty much a brand new roster, and we didn't have any film. So we kind of had to go to New Mexico State, was where their coach came from, and try to get some ideas of how they were going to play. Look up all the guys they signed and go watch them play to get an idea of the tendencies of players.
That's a lot of work for an exhibition.
It was crazy, yeah. And then, you know, the one thing that they did that we kind of guessed right on is they full court pressed for 40 minutes. They full court pressed. They got up into us. We were, you know, a ton of pressure. It was very unorthodox pressure coming from all different ways. And, you know, the only disappointing thing about it is I don't think we handled the pressure very well. We turned it over.
23 turnovers.
Yeah, which was way too high for us. But through all that, you know, 23 turnovers, and we didn't shoot the ball very well. I think we were 5 for 21 from three. In the past, if we turned it over 23 times and we didn't make shots, you know, we're going to be in a tough spot. But the one thing we've really kind of pressed with this team is to have a real defensive presence. And I feel like that really is something that kept us in the game. We were able to guard them. We were able to handle their pressure. We were able to exploit some mismatches inside and score inside. And we were able to come out with the win.
What was the atmosphere like in the pit for that exhibition game?
Well, my favorite thing about the pit is, you know, the snake. I've been in and around West Coast basketball for 20 years, and I knew the snake at other places when I was coaching, so I've gotten to know him really well. And he took a little hiatus from the pit, I guess, in the last couple of years, which we weren't I hadn't gone there, so we didn't know
He's
that.
waiting for BYU.
But he was waiting for us at the bus.
Literally off the plane, right?
Off the bus.
Off the bus.
Yeah, at the arena. Yeah, and that's where he always was, and he's running around, getting in our guys' faces and everything. So that was great. The pit wasn't, it wasn't completely full like we're used to it, but I'll tell you what, that place gets loud, and they love to cheer against BYU. So our guys got a good feel for a hostile environment, and again, to be able to be in a tie game with 5 minutes to go, a 1-point game with a minute to go, have to make plays down the stretch to win it, actually had to get a defensive stop, make free throws, all the things you kind of try to simulate in practice, but to be able to do that on October 27th was great.
Yoeli Childs got 2 quick fouls, but he stayed in the game, played through that, and had a tremendous game, which is actually our stat of the day.
It's the BYU Sports Nation stat of the day.
Yoeli Childs had 17 points and 19 rebounds against New Mexico. He's one of those guys in the offseason that when we watched some practices, we thought, okay, he's making the jump. And we knew he'd be good, but he's starting to turn into quite an excellent player.
Right. I think what you guys talked about and hit on right there is one of the things we really worked with Yoeli during the offseason is to be able to play through adversity. I think last year when he got a little sideways, it affected his play on the floor. And so it's something we've talked to him a lot about, and he did get 2 quick fouls, and they were tough fouls. After watching the film, they were both kind of debatable as to whether they're fouls or not, but they're fouls. And he had to sit by us. His mind was so good. He came over. He had a great mindset about the whole thing, stayed in the game, cheered his teammates on. We felt comfortable actually putting him back in the first half, and he was able to come in and really help us in the first half and play through it. I think the more remarkable thing when you talk about his stat line is he played 27 minutes.
I just noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he got a lot done, and I do believe he's made a huge jump. I think you're exactly right. It's something that hopefully we continue to get from everybody. And with Yoeli, it's a daily process. We just continue to harp on the things that we feel like he can get better at. I really do believe the sky's the limit for him.
That's the thing. The ceiling for him is remarkably high. In talking with his former AAU coach and just different guys that have been around him, he's scoring 17 and grabbing 19 boards in 27 minutes against a historically pretty good program on their floor. Yet you talk to him and he's like, man, I could get so much better. And he puts in the work ethic. And so for me, if I'm picking a team in the West Coast Conference, my first pick, no kidding, is Yoeli Childs. I know the Landale kid is really good, and the Williams guy is a nice player at Gonzaga. I'll take Yoeli Childs because of the ceiling that kid has.
It might be, too, because you work at BYU. I don't know.
I'm telling you, Tim.
Homerism.
I'm telling you. I've heard about this kid since he was 13 years old.
We aren't homers wearing Jimmer jerseys.
I would take all 13 of our guys. That's what I'd do if I had 13 picks.
All 13, baby.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the next game you're playing tomorrow. Westminster, another exhibition. Maybe you have film on them, and you don't have to go so crazy on that one. Cassie Broadhead DeVageray, WCC Player of the Year. Her husband plays for Westminster. He's been in the annex over the summer, kind of rebounding for us. So does he have all the secrets?
Yeah, he was sneakily scouting.
Wait a minute.
I didn't really kind of realize that till later in the summer. I'm thinking, man, we're giving them a competitive advantage here. No, they're a good team. Norm Parrish was the head coach at Salt Lake Community College for a number of years. Won a national championship there. Was on the staff at Utah with Coach Kristoviak as the ops guy up there, and now he's at Westminster. He's a very, very fundamental coach. They play sound. They make you guard them. They guard you. So it should be a fun game. Our styles are a little bit different, but they've got a bunch of guys on their team that would love to be at BYU. And that's always something that you kind of deal with in terms of an edge. You're always kind of looking for an edge. But I really like our guys' business-like approach so far this year. We really have had our practices have been really good. Every day they come trying to get better. I think what you talked about with Yoeli's a pretty constant thing amongst all of them. They're not resting on their laurels, happy with what they did yesterday. They're trying to get better today. And I think that's a sign of a team that hopefully we can do some really good things.
If you could pick one area to improve following the New Mexico game tomorrow against Westminster, what would it be for you?
I think obviously the thing that stands out is the turnovers. I don't think we'll face the type of pressure, full court pressure. But sometimes, turnovers actually don't always have to be with, based on pressure. They just based on focus. So that's something we've really kind of worked on this week, is just making the easy play, making the play that sets up the next thing. Not always trying to hit the home run with what you're doing, kind of the hockey assist mentality. And then I think the other thing is I really do believe we'll shoot the ball better. I think the way we shot the ball was a little bit of a byproduct of being in a foreign gym first this early. But then their pressure and the way that they really hawked the ball, even when you were open, you're kind of rushing everything. So those would be the two areas. I think defensively we were really sound. We graded out great. We did a great job on the glass. I think this is a really good rebounding team, and it's something we've stressed. But I think those two areas, turnovers, get that number way down, and then be able to shoot the ball better from the perimeter.
Coach, great to have you with us, and I would love for you to come back again because we have like 25 more questions for you.
We just ran out of time.
I'm a little bummed that we don't have a picture of the Hounds. I mean, I thought
The
for
party
sure,
Hounds
it was all
didn't
set
show up on
for you.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Listen, there are still 32 minutes and 40 seconds of
We got-
this
there's
show.
You put the
There's-
pressure on the control
There's some
room
good shots from the tour, man. You guys will have loved it. We rocked it too. I got my next transition into whatever my next career is a few years down the road.
Okay.
Yeah, when I retire, I'm going to be a
You don't need it.
65-year-old rocker.
You don't need a costume because you live it, man.
Yeah, I'm just ugly. That's why I don't need it. I'm not pretty like you two guys.
Wow. I'm not sure that
Thank
both of us
you.
have ever been called pretty before.
Well, pretty
Yeah.
boys.
I prefer El
That's what-
Guapo. but
Pretty,
yeah.
pretty boys get these jobs, The rest of us got to slave for a living.
Oh my goodness. Great stuff. Always nice to have you, Tim.
Thank you.